And hello again. Welcome to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. This is a show where we talk about that next stage in your career. And it's when you actually walk away from your career. It's when you walk away from the cubicle. You walk away from the office. You walk away from the hard hat. You walk away from whatever you've been doing all these years. And then all of a sudden you got to figure out, how does the money keep coming in? Well, that's where Marc comes in. And that's why we have this show, is to introduce you to Marc and how he can help people in retirement and get ready for retirement and what his methods are to do that and find out if it's a good fit with you. Marc, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Randy. I'm looking forward to getting into this show, cutting some teeth on this stuff. How about you?
Yeah, we got a lot of really good things here today. I mean, this is a time of year at the beginning of the year now where people they're getting their 1099s, they're getting their W-2s, they're getting all these different things, and they're starting to think about taxes. And when you think about taxes, you think about money. And why don't we think about your retirement as well? And as people get into retirement, they're going to be handling some new things. And one of the things that you and I have talked about is the big, beautiful bill and some of the ways that it has changed with tax planning and what's going to happen this year with your taxes. So if you're in retirement and you're getting Social Security, here is this new deduction. It's $6,000 for each person who is over 65 and doing their taxes. So for a couple, that's $12,000. That's a pretty nice deduction there. But Marc, we as with any other kind of deduction, these things start to disappear a little bit once you start to look at income levels. What are we looking there? Because there might be a little bit of a surprise for somebody who goes, oh, I got $6,000. And it's not really $6,000, is it? No,
as a matter of fact, that's where it starts to change a little bit. So I know that when they first came out with this deduction, that the intention was to tell the primarily about 90% of Social Security recipients were going to be now Social Security tax-free in a way, based on what they were saying, based on those figures. Now, when you start jumping into some other figures, we're talking about, what if you're making income that is $75,000, or if you're a couple, $150,000. There are people that make this kind of money in retirement. Well, what happens is it starts, the deduction is not quite as great at that point in time. And so, you're dealing with Social Security taxes when that's the case. So again, it's really important to understand what is your income level in retirement, because it has a drastic effect on other deductions. And the question is, are we being effective with our income, and how are we going about it? Because in retirement, the three things we talk about, Randy, all the time are preservation, income, and growth. And the way I look at it is, we want to give you the income you want in retirement, but with that comes some responsibility, and also comes with that the idea of understanding taxes and inflation, and also deductions.
So I know that you don't do people's taxes. That's not part of what you do, but you do bring tax professionals in. And if somebody has a CPA that they want to work with, you'll work with that person as well to sit down and talk about things. And most of the time when we talk about planning for retirement, we're talking about people getting ready to go into retirement. And a lot of times we're talking about moving money from a 401k or an IRA over to a Roth. That's a tax preparation event that you can do. But once you're in retirement, is that still an option for you, Marc? Or are there other things that people can do to help themselves and soften the tax burden in retirement?
Yes. So again, as we discuss this and kind of go over this, the question is, do you want to pay the taxes now? Do you want to pay the taxes later? Are they greater now? Or are they greater later? No, I'm not a tax professional, but certainly we can take a pen and put it to the paper and get an understanding. Everybody looks at their adjusted gross income when they look at their tax return, right? So obviously we can look at these things, have some questions, look at conversions. Again, you can convert money from your standard traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, and you could do it all the way even past taking required minimum distributions. So we know that if you were born 1960 or after, you don't have to take a required minimum distribution from the IRS until you hit age 75, right? So for people born before that, they have to take it at 73. Where are you? How old are you? How close are you to your retirement? Should we start looking at Roth conversions? Because this is a real thing. The issue that we run into play here is required minimum distributions. I know you told that sad tale, that story of that gentleman that had like $4 million in IRA money, and he was so upset that he was going to have $150,000 to $160,000 of required minimum distributions coming when he turned 73 the next month. And I thought, boy, that's a tough one, isn't it, Randy?
Well, yeah, but we always got to say he's got $4 million. I mean, there's that. But yeah, I mean, when people get into their 70s and they start to see Uncle Sam is now saying, I have to take this money, and maybe you've done a really good job with income planning and you don't need that money. All it does is throw you into another tax bracket, and now it costs you more. And these are one of the surprises that take place in our retirement years.
Yes, it is. And one of the other things that we look at is we look at the scalable tax brackets to understand what tax bracket did your CPA put you in. And, you might be in a 22% tax bracket, and then you're looking at conversions. And you're like, oh, no, but it's going to put me in the next tax bracket. Well, when I look down at the paper, it tells me the next tax bracket is 24%. Oh, boy.
Not so
bad.
Only
2% higher.
Right.
And remember, so obviously this is a conversation we have, and we look at these things because, hey, can we assist in the process of you accomplishing what you want to accomplish with your income, with your taxes, being prepared for inflation? We want to be a part of that process with you. Obviously, we involve all the professionals. We involve the attorneys for the estate planning. We involve the tax professionals for the exact tax advice that you need. But ultimately, can we be a part of the entire process for financial planning and just overall, hey, I think we can help you here? Yes, we want to be a part of the whole process.
Give Mark a call. Go to the website and see what that looks like. He has his 5 steps to more, and we'll go through that on the show today and what you could expect when you come in. And it's just basically, that treetop view, looking at what you've done, what you've saved, what it's going to do for you, what kind of income is going to be there. And then we start really diving in and talking about Social Security and tax planning and all these different things that we talk about here on the show. At no cost or obligation. It's really a meeting to say, how can we help? Where are you? What are your questions? How can we help? 984-300-1984 is the number to get a meeting with Mark. 984-300-1984. You can do it that way, or you can use the website, moretoretire.com. Just spell it right out. Down at the bottom of the page is a place for you to put some information in there. You can put your contact information in there. You can put your question in there along with your contact information. It'll give Mark kind of an idea of what you're looking for. moretoretire.com or 984-300-1984. Now, one of the things about retirement planning, if you start looking stuff up online, you're going to see things like a 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. It's kind of a generic kind of thing that has been used for many years. But with interest rates going down, 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 and maybe continuing to go down, there are people that are saying that bonds are not the place to put your money now. The people at BlackRock, who are big investment companies, say bonds do not offer the portfolio ballast they once did, or bonds are not the shock absorber they once were. So, Mark, tell me, what were bonds supposed to do over all these years, and why are they coming up short right now? And are there some other places where people can put their money?
Bonds as a whole, when you look at them, they were supposed to keep up with the rate of inflation more than anything else, right? That was the intention behind bonds, but they really can't. Why? Because we ended up going through massive inflation all at once, and it kind of got suppressed and held back over time. So when interest rates were low, it wasn't necessarily helping things out. So let's say, for example, let's just compare a structured note and a bond to each other. Okay. So a bond, for example, let's say you get into a bond and you have a coupon rate, and it tells you they're going to pay you, 5% on this thing.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And let's say during that period of time, interest rates drop. Right.
Okay.
Well, you're in this bond that's paying 5%, and interest rates have dropped below this point. Well, then there's a chance that you could potentially sell that bond for a premium, right? Meaning that the price of the bond might be worth more than the par rate that you bought it for.
Everybody wants your 5% bond because they're paying 4% every place else. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might have a $100,000 bond, and now all of a sudden you could sell for, let's say, $104,000.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Well, with a structured note, it's kind of similar in that sense too. A person says, well, what's a structured note? It's where you let a bank borrow your money, and then they tell you the certain parameters of how you make money. It might be based on certain indexes and stuff like that. Or it could be an actual coupon rate, but it's still based on indexing. Mm-hmm. Well, the structured note, it might be for 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, sort of like how the bond has, however many years that a bond has on it, you can still sell it. Well, it's the same thing with a structured note. A structured note will grow. And, let's just say, for example, you want to sell it early. If it's up in value, you could sell it for a premium, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another way. For example, a client sells a $100,000 one, and all of a sudden they're offered $107,000, and they want to get out of this 24-month structured note early. They can do that. So we actually like to use structured notes as a way to break up what we call correlation. Correlation just means simply stocks or equities basically moving in the same direction.
Okay.
And we want to do is break that up. So instead of using bonds, we prefer to use structured notes because we also have the potential of having, and this is potential, of a higher return than bonds, right? Or higher return than CDs. So if you ask me how we do that, we go about using structured notes as opposed to bonds because we don't believe that based on the massive inflation and everything we've been through that CDs and bonds are truly keeping up with the rate of inflation.
Yep. And I think that as the economy changes, as different companies say, okay, all you baby boomers, here's something for you for retirement. And that's happening all the time. And these are some things that you need to sit down and talk to Mark about, because if you've never heard of something like structured notes and all you know is stocks and bonds, mutual funds, all these things that we hear about all the time, there might be some other options out there that you can explore with Mark and take a look at what's going on out there with interest rates and what's more favorable than the traditional stock and bond portfolio. Let's talk through that. Give Mark a call. Give a look at the website. Start right there. Learn more. More2retire.com. Just spell it right out. More2retire.com. There's a place for you at the bottom of the page to put a little information in there. Mark reaches out to you and says, okay, what's the big question that you need? What's the big concern that we can handle? Let's see if we have a chemistry here. And maybe that leads to a meeting at the office where we put the papers out on the table and say, okay, let's start to build a retirement plan. Here's how we start. More2retire.com. More2retire.com or 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. All right, so I mentioned the poll that Gallup did. So they asked people who are getting ready for retirement, are you afraid of running out of money? Almost 50% of them said they were afraid of running out of money, 45%. And that's very, very, very common. Once those people got into retirement, they followed up and they said, now how do you feel? 75% of them said, I think I'm going to be fine. So that could be a matter of a couple of months, a couple of days. It could be a couple of years. What is the reason for the big change? All the fear going in, but feeling pretty good once you get into retirement. What do you think that is, Mark?
I think that folks realize that sometimes they're concerned about this passive income. Right? Because you have all this earned income you have over this time because you have this position, this job, this corporate job, whatever it might be. And you're sitting there, you're thinking, when I stop working, am I going to have enough income? And you're really worried about it because most of the time when you're getting close to retirement, you have a lot of income, but you really don't have a lot of outgoing as compared to income. And then when you retire, if you set the budget correctly and you prepare for trips and do those things, a lot of times you end up realizing that, hey, maybe I have enough income, and you start to get a little bit more comfortable. Well, I will share with you that when you're working with a financial advisor, that you're going to be more comfortable in retirement, but you're going to have the jitters beforehand. But once you get there, you're going to realize working with a financial advisor is going to make a big difference because they're going to tell you whether you can retire or not, and based on a particular age you can retire at. So when you're working with someone like me, my objective is to be able to look at you and say, we know we can do this, that, and the other at this particular date. And this is what it's going to look like. And then when they come back to me a couple of years later and said, hey, you're right, I said, well, yeah, I knew I was right about this, but I just had to kind of show you the path and the way, because this is how you can do it. And these are the conversations we like to have. So we want to take the pressure off those shoulders of yours. We want to help you navigate this, and we want to make sure you have enough income. So we stand by those things. Our terminology never changes. It's preservation, income, and growth. Mm-hmm. As long as we have enough preservation tools for your income, then we'll be prepared for what are the expenses with regards to that income, what are the taxes with regards to that income, and what is the inflation with regards to that income. And if we're prepared for those things, and if we do it ahead of time. So, for example, if somebody, let's say they come to me and they say, oh, my advisor said I could have made this much more money in the market if I kept it here for this period of time, but I did this annuity instead. Well, the question is, why did you do the annuity? There's a few reasons why you do an annuity. One, it might be for preservation tactics, for what they would call preservation growth. You don't want to risk what you worked your whole life for. It could be for what they call lifetime income riders, because a person might want to build income based on, hey, I don't have any income in the future coming out like I do for Social Security, because Social Security is like a pension, right? So is an annuity. It's a deferred annuity with a lifetime income rider, will pay out like a pension as well. Just won't be immediate. It's a deferred one, so it just depends on when we turn on the income, but it's still your asset. So a person might do it for income. And another reason why a person might do an annuity is for what if I don't have long-term care, or what if I don't have something that could provide for something similar to that, like a living needs benefits. And so these are important conversations to have if you don't have this built in. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not all about wealth advisement here. We're not trying to just make you the most money possible. When you get closer to retirement, you need to be strategic with the assets that you've built up over the years, so we can build a plan around that and share with you. We know a lot of people with incredible things that they do. And so you might work with us, and you might work with us and some of our partners too.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at this story here about talking to people getting ready for retirement, they're all afraid. And then when they get into retirement, they go, hey, I'm going to be okay. One of the things that's kind of interesting, I'm a big hound for looking at retirement news. And I watched a video of a guy, and he retired when he was in his late 50s. And he's out on a walking trail. He's a big hiker. He loves it. And so he's sitting on a rock out in the desert someplace. He says, here's 5 things that you got to get used to if you're going to retire. And the first one was, you got to get used to your account balance going down. He goes, that's a really hard thing for me. And I thought to myself, you know what? There's a guy without an income plan. Because one of the things about retirement that people, they ease their way in, and then they figure out, holy cow, my account balance is going up. I got to go out there and spend some money. And that is one of the things I think I see here, is that these are people without a plan, and then there's people with a plan, and the people in retirement are having more confidence than the people who are getting ready for retirement. I mean, you may look at yourself 5 years ago and say, man, I was worried for nothing. I did a good job. I got a good person behind me. And that's really what we're looking for. Give Marc a call, and let's sit down and talk through the details and the questions you have about your retirement. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with Marc. And you can also check the website out. I encourage you to do that too. more2retire.com. Well, people are worried about running out of money, but they're also worried about other things. 81% of people in this particular survey said the biggest bill that they're worried about in retirement is health care. They're worried about premiums and prescriptions, and there's that long-term care thing that's always out there. So, Marc, talk to me a little bit about that. There are people that are turning 65 every day, and now they are eligible for Medicare, but maybe they don't want to stop working. And so you sign up, and then you wait, and you sit, and then you retire, and you file for Medicare. One of the things that I've found is that if you file and you don't retire, that they're going to look back a couple of years at your income, and that's going to determine what the premium is for your Medicare. Does that mean a lot of people who go into retirement are getting hit kind of hard with premiums in the first 2 years? Are you seeing that?
Yes. Yeah, it's that's how it's happening exactly, because most people are going, 0 to 100, and then they convert. Because the easiest time to retire, if let's say you're not a retired military, you don't have TRICARE. The easiest time to retire is when you can get on Medicare at the same time as turning on Social Security and doing it all at once at the same time. Then you can buy a Medicare supplement policy and things like that. And if you do that, you're going to be dealing with higher premiums because of that. So that 2-year period of time, it has a drastic effect. It's going to be a little bit of time to deal with that. So remember that when you're coming into retirement of what you're dealing with there. Okay?
And that can drop off too. After those 2 years go away, the big income goes away, then it starts to go down. Am I correct there? Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly what will happen. Now, with that being said, if you do want to retire before 65, obviously you can't turn on Medicare until 65. So maybe we do retire at 62 or 63 based on that. And we just, monitor how we receive that passive income and make sure that's enough to get us by. I'm working on some cases right now where we're trying to figure out the stopgap of how do we have enough income from this resource and this resource if I'm really not going to go back to work before I can turn on these pensions and the Social Security and things like that. I'm having these real conversations right now with some of the potential or actual clients of mine. If you become a client of mine, it's really essentially this. Look, we run a financial report. It's a Morningstar report. We might do some type of risk-alize, and we go over these things with you and share this data with you. And basically, we're looking at your pool of money, and we say, we know that we can do this, that, and the other. And if you work with us, we can move forward. And a lot of times when a person says, I think I want to work with you, they understand it's pretty simple. We pretty much ACAT their money over or transfer their money over like to like. That's really all it is. And move that over into, we use Fidelity as our custodian. And then after we have that money and we moved it over like to like, if we can't move it over like to like, if it's a 401k, we just bring it over in cash. It'll sit in a money market, earning some interest. And then we get on another phone call or in-person appointment. And then we have a conversation of where we put the money based on what we looked at with regards to the buckets of money and the income that's needed. It's a great place to start with me, is running the report and the risk-alize and getting the analysis and understanding of, do I think this guy's competent enough to work with me in my retirement years? And I can promise you I am. But truthfully, yes, this is where we all start. So a lot of times I tell people, you can go to my website, moretoretire.com. It's really simple. Hey, I need more to retire. moretoretire.com, and there's a secure upload button on the right-hand side. You can upload, statements, things like that to me. Comes over, it's a secure upload button. And then if you want to scroll to the bottom of the front screen or any screen, you can actually enter your information and mention what you want to send to me, or maybe you're going to send to me, or you already sent it to me. And what'll happen is I'll receive an email stating who you are, your phone number, your email, and what information you wanted to get over to me. Because where we start is that treetop view, Randy. So we want to get an idea of what you want to accomplish. And if you're 58, 59, you're thinking about retirement at 62 or 65 or 67, whatever it might be, it's a great place for us to have a conversation. And there's a lot of different avenues that we like to use in retirement. And, everybody's situation is different. So we're here to help.
Yeah, maybe you want to retire at 65 or 67 and you get through the Medicare thing, and then you starts getting serious because you're making some decisions there. You may need some help with some of those decisions. Give Mark a call, 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984, or the website again, moretoretire.com. Just one more question about this, because I was reading this morning, and that was that this year, 2026, 2.6 million people are going to lose their Medicare Advantage plans because these Advantage plans are going away. I'm hearing more and more people move towards supplemental instead of an Advantage plan. And are Medicare Advantage plans, do you think they're kind of going the way of long-term care insurance? They're going to go away? Or are they going to be a reduced benefit? They seem to have a lot of fun, candy little things in there if you sign up for them, with health clubs and all sorts of things like that. What do you see there as far as helping people go above and beyond what Medicare would provide?
Sure. So there's a combination license that I got many years ago. It's a long-term care / Medicare supplement license. And early in my career, I got into insurance and annuities and things like that over 25 years ago. And when we started talking about different things, I wrote some Medicare supplement policies, but I also did some Medicare Advantage ones too, because you do the same thing with the same license. Medicare Advantage plans were just more affordable. They had more affordable concepts for people. It was less premium. But again, remember, this is insurance. So the insurance company, all they care about when it comes down to it is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Are they profitable? So if they're not being profitable with their decision of putting out plans, they're going to shift and change. And so that's what you're seeing here, is you're seeing a shift and a change because it's all about money, bottom line. Now, I looked at my health insurance, and my health insurance shot way up this year because why? Well, we realize they need to make sure they're profitable. Well, they're going to be profitable no matter what. Well, that's what's happening with the Medicare Advantage plans. And so you're seeing that. I do think that there's going to be some shifts and some changes. These are real conversations to have as we get closer to retirement. I know a group that I send people to when they have these questions specifically about what they should do with regards to supplemental policies. I share that information, get them over the professionals, because I don't have enough time to work on that specific part myself, because I want to concentrate on your money, how to make money on your money, how to grow your money sensibly, how to have preservation tools, how to have the right income in retirement. That's really important to me. But if I can pass some stuff off, I do, and get you in touch with the right professionals to answer those questions. But I do see that happening, Randy. Yes.
That is the key there, is to have the access to the resources that you need. You might get a letter this year, and it says, we're discontinuing your Medicare Advantage plan. And then you go, now what? And see, when you get into retirement, you feel as though I planned for retirement. I got my financial advisor to get me ready for retirement. Now I'm in retirement, and you think it's smooth sailing from here on in. Stuff happens. Things happen. Rules change. Laws change. And things like this can change as well. That's where it's good to have somebody that you can go to and say, okay, now what? What are my options here? That's what you can do with Mark. Give him a call. It is 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984, or the website is moreToRetire.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about a little bit of a misconception when it comes to Social Security. And Mom always said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, we use that financially here, but there are other ways to use that phrase as well. We'll tell you more coming up on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. How many of you think taxes will go up in the future? And if they do, who will be hit the hardest? Most people say millionaires. But what about you, headed for retirement? You've been saving in that 401k or IRA, and that money has never been taxed. And Uncle Sam is looking at that account like it's a big, juicy steak. What do you do about it? You can call Marc Oslar. He believes a financial plan is not a retirement plan without a tax plan. If you don't check off this important box, you could see your Social Security check go down and your Medicare premiums go up. Fund your retirement, not Uncle Sam's. Call Marc Oslar today at 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984 or online at moreToRetire.com. Welcome back to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Online, moreToRetire.com. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's get that conversation going. Give Mark a call at 984-300-1984. A study found that 25% of Americans think that there is a Social Security account with their name on it, kind of like a 401k, and they'll just draw off that account for the rest of their lives. That's not the way it works, folks. I'm telling you, it is hand to mouth. It's basically you're making a paycheck and you're sending that money to somebody older who's using that money in Social Security. So talk to me, Mark. I know that everybody's looking forward to getting Social Security, but there are some things there that people kind of take for granted that might be misconceptions. Tell me some of them that you've run into.
A lot of folks don't realize that Social Security works just like a pension, okay? They think that that it's something totally different, but really that's what it is. There was a trust fund that was set up with the intent to pay people Social Security, and originally tax-free. And that changed, obviously bipartisan. It changed with George H.W. Bush, which was George W. Bush's dad, and then it changed with Bill Clinton, where it made up to 50% of Social Security taxable, and then up to 85% of it taxable. So these common misconceptions of understanding of what it was developed for, well, here's the thing. That trust fund, if nothing changes, which I hear they're trying to do something, but if nothing changes, 2032 to 2033, that trust fund's done. And if it's done, what could that do to your Social Security? Well, our understanding, and this is broad spectrum, because I can't tell you for sure, but our broad understanding is somewhere from 70 to 80% of Social Security is now being paid by the current Social Security taxpayers. Right? So they're really just taking that money, funnel it back to the people.
Yep.
If the trust fund gets exhausted, that just means your Social Security could get reduced by 20% or more. We just don't know that exact figure, but that's what we're looking like, and that could be a huge issue. So if we're doing retirement planning, do we want to rely on Social Security being fully there? No, I think we can make it a shift or a change. If I just said, let's prepare for 80% of your Social Security being there in the future, but remember that it does keep up with inflation in a way. They have that increase for inflation. So we'll keep those two things factored, and we'll also factor in how much Medicare might cost you, right? So we have to have these understandings, and then we have to build around it. What's a good income plan around Social Security? So these misconceptions, they live on.
Yeah.
So if you want to share some of your thought process of what you might be coming into in retirement based on your 401k, let's just have a general conversation about it. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, one of my best friends is 70 years old now, so I've been watching him kind of go through some of these decisions, and he calls me and asks me, and I go, well, don't call me, call Mark, for crying out loud. Anyway, he said he got confused by the COLA. He knew that you got a raise each year according to inflation or whatever for your Social Security, but he had a misconception of that, thinking that every year that his Social Security was going to go up until he was getting the max amount when he was 70 years old. I said, no, that's not really how it works. Once you lock it in, when you take it, that's your amount, and you're going to get a tiny raise each year, but you're not going to get, if you claim at 65, you're not going to get what they claim at 70 just by getting to 70. So that was I had to kind of straighten him out on that one. He was kind of disappointed.
Oh, yeah. Some folks started to see some of the bigger raises in Social Security in 2023 because we had that massive inflation in June of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we noticed all of these things happening, right? And yeah, that COLA raise, it helps keep up with inflation, so we can kind of prepare for that. But let's just kind of scale it back 20 or 25% in case they don't fix the trust fund. This way we can kind of prepare for that. But I love that you brought that up, because I don't think I've ever had somebody say it to me like that before, where he thought, it's going to keep rising up until I get at that max age.
Right.
No, that's them telling you, if you wait 8 years, if you wait 5 years, we're going to pay you this much a year. But if you die the next day, you're not going to get any more, because it's insurance. They're betting on certain things. It's sort of like when insurance companies, you buy an annuity, they purchase options. Options is an option to purchase a stock. By purchasing options, what they do is they're downplaying their risk factors. So what they do is factor in what they can afford to pay you, because all of these companies have to be profitable. Just like our government has to be profitable. It's not right now, but it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly right. You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. To talk to Mark about your questions about retirement, whether it's Social Security or it's your 401k, or you hear about these conversions, you wonder about health care, and then you hear RMDs and you go, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I just saved as well as I possibly could, and I hope it's enough. Okay? Well, let's sit down and actually work those numbers. MoreToRetire.com is the website. I encourage you to go there, tool around, learn more about Mark, look at the 5 steps to more, and then give him a call. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. I don't know if my mom said it or my dad said it or I just read it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, we've all heard that. So spread your money out. That way, if one part of your money's not working, maybe another part will. diversification. It's a big financial word, but I think we all know what it means. But Mark, there are other ways to diversify in your retirement. You can diversify your risk. You can diversify your income. You can diversify tax planning. There's a lot of different ways to spread out the risk of retirement. And I don't know that a lot of people realize that.
They don't. I was having a conversation with a lady the other day. I do work with people in other states from time to time. She was in another state. Obviously I have to have the proper licenses for those states to do business. And that's a normal part of our business because we want to make sure that we're prepared and we're giving them the proper state information that they receive. I don't know if you knew this or not, Randy, but there are people that from other states that listen to us too as well. They'll go to our, the radio website, listen to us and talk about that. And I like it too. I just enjoy the fact that, you can hear from some financial advisors over the radio and feel like you can connect with them and talk with them even though you're in another state. And it's true. Because if you go to my website, moretoretire.com, you can know a little bit more about us. We do want to diversify. We do want to diversify in retirement, your income, and things like that. So Social Security could be one of the outlets for income, right? Maybe a lifetime income rider that they call a guaranteed lifetime income rider at insurance companies. That could be a portion of what you might need in retirement. Just to give you an example of what that is, it's just you putting money into an annuity, whether it's an IRA or just regular bank funds, non-qualified money, and usually, it just depends on the insurance company, but if you have a joint contract or if it's an IRA, if you have your spouse as the beneficiary, a lot of times you can elect a joint income. It could be immediate or it could be later on, deferred. And basically what it does is it gives you this rider with this income at this certain point in time. And what'll happen is if you spend all of your money out of that contract, it'll continue to pay you and your spouse, if that's how you set it up, for the rest of your lives. If you don't, usually it leaves a death benefit to your beneficiaries. So we might use that. We might use Social Security. We might use a structured note that has a yield to it. And a structured note is an alternative investment where you allow the bank to borrow your money, and then they tell you how you receive your return. And it could be set up monthly, it could be set up annually, just depending on how it's structured, because it is called a structured note. And then, of course, we've got other avenues like what if we have a dividend model, which we do. There's a dividend model we have built in. And then there's also some other planning mechanisms. So that's income. Diversifying risk in general, we might also use structured notes to diversify risk too, because they're not directly involved in the equities you might have. We might use the annuities to diversify risk portfolio as well, because again, we want some preservation tactics built in. We might build in several other things. There's some funds out there. I might talk to you about maybe you want to have some precious metals on the sidelines for a portion of your retirement assets. There's a lot of different ways to diversify your assets, and we can talk about all those different avenues. In addition to that, taxes, well, I think I've said this many times on the show, Randy. We stand by preservation, income, and growth. And they all kind of work together in a way, in the sense that we want our income to be from preservation tactics. So obviously we want to keep down to either low or no volatility taking from those assets, because you don't want to have a problem where you're taking money from assets that are dropping in value, because then it increases the amount of percentage that you take out. It could be a problem. It could keep making your assets go down and down and down in value. And obviously you don't want to see that happen. So are we prepared for the taxes that come along with that income if we've prepared for the proper inflationary measures, if we prepared for everything else with regards to diversification and everything else? And so all three of those ways we can diversify in all three of those avenues.
And what you're trying to do really is to try to diversify your risk throughout your retirement, because there's so much out there that can get at you. There's markets, there's taxes, there's, the economy, there's all these different things. And we want to try to diversify that risk, smooth that out as much as possible to give you the best chance for success in retirement. Give Mark a call. Talk through what you're afraid of. And we're all nervous about something. It is interesting to me how nervous people are when they get into retirement, and then how people calm down many times after retirement, because it's just this big mountain that we're climbing. And then we get to the top of that mountain. Yeah, we're going to need some help getting down. And that's where Marc can certainly help you. But it seems like once we get into retirement and you kind of settle in, you kind of figure it out along the way. Let's get you to that confidence place. That's the whole idea here. And do that through planning. Give Marc a call, 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984, or use the website and tool around, look all through the website, find out the 5 steps to more, find out what Marc's all about, moretoretire.com. Just spell it right out, moretoretire.com. All right, a lot of stuff since the last time you and I have talked, Marc. The Dow hit 50,000, and you and I have been around long enough that we know that there are people who wrote books called Dow 50,000. They wear hats that said Dow 50,000. And when we hit Dow 50,000, I thought confetti would fly from the sky. It was just another day in the market. I mean, come on. Does Dow 50,000 mean anything to us, Marc, or is it just another number now?
You know, this is a conversation that comes up quite a bit. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were talking to me about how they could have made so much more money if they didn't have this annuity over here, if they were, straight up in the market,
right.
And fantastic, great. But why did you do the annuity in the first place? And again, that's why we circle back to the conversation. What the heck is going on in the market, right? I mean, we are having record high after record high, and we haven't had a correction in now 17 years. Randy, we keep adding another year every time we're doing this radio show.
I know it.
And it hasn't happened. Of course. I mean, if you're dealing with a wealth advisor and they're just trying to grow your money and they want to grow it as much as possible, they see that Dow 50, they're like, yeah, what do you think? I am the best advisor that you could have ever dealt with. Well, guess what? You could take a dartboard and throw a dart at it, and you could have picked any one of those advisors. As long as they didn't do something really stupid, you would have done pretty well with your money.
Yep.
But that's not the point. The point is we're not trying to celebrate the Dow. We're not trying to celebrate the S&P. We're not trying to celebrate all the different indexes or the positions you're in. What we're trying to do is be strategic about your retirement here at the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. That's what we care about. And no, we're not trying to make you the most money possible. It's not about wealth, right? What we want to do is be really strategic about what you worked your whole life for. We care about the advice we give, and we want to make sure that we're being precise. We're giving you the right information so you can make the right decisions based on your retirement and your goals, and not celebrate the Dow.
And what good is all this if you can't go out there and make some memories and have some fun? All right. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about is Bitcoin. And I mean, I know that people in retirement probably aren't that interested in Bitcoin because it's so volatile, and we're seeing that right now. Bitcoin has lost half its value. I mean, it was like at 120 to 130, and now it's down to 60. And I'm wondering, is Bitcoin going to go away? I mean, is it just going to vanish and disappear, or is it going to be with us for a while? Is this just part of the journey of Bitcoin? What do you see there?
I mean, there's real value in Bitcoin, but is it speculative? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, when you look at this, you're dealing with cryptocurrency, and then you're dealing with wallets, and has anybody hacked into that wallet too? You have to ask yourself that question too. Is this worth it? There's people out there that have their entire retirement assets in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because they believe this is the way, because they made gobs and gobs of returns off of these monies. But just like we saw when China, put the clamps on cryptocurrency a few years ago, it affected the entire market. It since has recovered a bit, but again, cryptocurrency, I would be cautious about how much we deal with regards to cryptocurrency. We do have a platform dedicated to cryptocurrency, but there's a balance to it as well, and it is definitely more volatile than our other platforms.
All right, let's talk about the other one, and that is gold and silver. I mean, it went way up, and then it crashed, and then it came back up again, and people are just trying to figure this out, because usually when the market goes down, gold goes up. Right now, the market is up, and gold is going higher. This is Max Baker, and he was on Fox Business talking a little bit about gold.
If we get some kind of credit event, think 2023 bank crisis, think another war, something with Iran, something with China, you could see silver at $200 in a heartbeat. You could see gold at $8,500 to $9,000 in a heartbeat. Just And that's looking at history. That's not just pie in the sky.
One thing I can say here is I sold my class ring way too early. I should have waited on that one. All right. So gold. I got to believe that people are asking about it, saying, should I have gold in my portfolio? This seems like a good time. It's doing nothing but go up. And if someone really wanted to do that, what kind of a percentage should that be as a part of their retirement portfolio? What does that conversation look like?
Well, I mean, I bought a bunch of Silver Eagles when they were around $30 a piece. You always pay a premium for silver. Gold is fairly close to spot. You're still paying a premium when you buy a gold eagle, but there's a shortage of the silver, and that's what shot and spiked up the price too.
Okay.
So that's a combination. I also used to talk to clients, and I knew that they would buy junk silver as well. And junk silver it could be very popular. You could have like 90% or 40% silver on those junk coins, depending on when they were actually created. 1964 or before, you're dealing with about 90% silver, 10% copper on some of those coins, like the quarters and the dimes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And some of them have numismatic value. So there's reasons to have precious metals. They keep up with inflation. They might have some other, numismatic value depending on the coin when you bought it, those types of things. Great things to own, right? Can I answer for you why it shot up the way it shot up? No, I mean, other than the fact that our currency is pretty weak right now, I would say that that's one of the factors that's played, come into play. But also think about it. Yeah, if we do have, we've been sticking our hands in some stuff globally, right? And the biggest risk to our economy is a geopolitical event. Yeah, that would affect the market. We would drop if we went into war, right? If we had a war on our hands, the market would probably drop, but gold and silver would probably go up, right? Because they keep up with inflation, they help out during times of war. So what he was saying there, it's correct. I mean, he's not off there at all. What I will say is I have some clients that are a little too crazy about gold and silver, where I say, look, it's good to have this. Look, even if you put 50% of your assets here and this is what you really want, I probably wouldn't go further than that because, again, you're going to want to have some tools for income in the future, and you can't really tell where that money's going to be in 5 years. You just don't know. There's a lot of unpredictability.
So how do people buy gold? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to own. You can own gold that you hold in your hand, like you were just talking about. Could be coins, ingots, whatever, and you put it in your safety deposit box. You could buy mutual funds, ETFs. You could that deal in commodities and things like that. How do people lean that way? Do they want to actually hold it in their hand? That makes them feel good about things? Or do they just do it another way, just like buying any other stock or bond?
Yeah, you can have a custodian in play with an IRA where it is physical and you have it stored somewhere. Personally, I think that the physical way is the most effective way because it's real. You're not just investing in the price of something. If you're investing in the price of something, ETF, stuff like that, it's a little different. You're still dealing with the digital world, right? But when you own the actual thing, I have a 1 ounce Australian gold nugget at home and bought that thing years ago for like $2,000, right? It's definitely worth more than the spot price of gold. I could go sell that thing and do really well. But am I going to? No, I like owning it. I think it's a great thing to own. And I have some other silver and some other things like that. Some other things that carry value might be firearms. That's another thing that people don't really consider too much about, but they carry value. So again, there are these types of assets that are off kilter in terms of they're not meant to build your retirement portfolio based on income or preservation income and growth, but they could be a valuable tool to the sideline.
You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience, and online it is moretoretire.com. That might be one of the questions you have. You see all these commercials, you see all these headlines about gold, and you wonder, should I have that in my retirement portfolio? Let's talk through it. 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984 for a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with Marc, or moretoretire.com. Finally today, Elon Musk, interesting guy, he was talking about retirement the other day, and he said, you know what? We are making so many advances in AI and technology. Not too long from now, we're not even going to need to save for retirement.
Well, one side recommendation I have is don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in 10 or 20 years. It won't matter. You won't need to save for retirement. If any of the things that we've said are true, saving for retirement will be irrelevant.
Services will be there to support you. You'll have the home, you'll have the healthcare, you'll have the entertainment.
The way this unfolds is fundamentally impossible to predict because of self-improvement of the AI and the accelerating timeline.
Okay. I don't know about that one. To me, Mark, it just keeps getting more difficult to plan for retirement because, pensions are going away. Everything's getting more expensive. It's harder to save. Government programs aren't what they used to be. It seems like it's going the other direction. He says it's going to get to the point where we actually won't even need to save anymore. Do you believe that?
No. And you're talking about a highly intelligent person.
Yeah.
I could be dead wrong about this, but no. I think you should save in a 401k.
Yep.
I think you should save for retirement investing. I think it's really important because at least you're setting a plan in place. You're not relying on those intelligent folks over there, okay? No, seriously. Let's actually, if you don't have a plan, we can start building a plan. I'll work with some younger folks, just depending on how much they want to put away and how they want to grow their assets, and we can discuss, have a real conversation about that. If you have a 401k, if you're younger than 59 and a half, if you left that previous job and you still have that 401k, you can roll that with someone like myself to an IRA. You can do that. You don't have to be stuck there in that old previous plan. And then if you're 59 and a half or older, we can move those 401ks over and you can keep those plans open most of the time. I'm not going to say all the time. Most of the time you can move the majority or all of it and still keep it open to contribute to it. And so these are the conversations. These are types of ideas I try to give folks. Hey, this is how you can open yourself up to this stuff. But yes, saving, investing, preparing your fields, and getting the right growth plan, the right model, preservation, income, and growth. We might not have to plan for the income right now, but what we want to do is build the tactics around it. So when it's time to build for the income, we've already done the process and all we have to do is turn it on.
Well, until Elon shows up in his Tesla and drops $5 million in your account, maybe keep saving, okay? You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience, and a good thing to do would be to sit down with Marc and talk through your retirement. Let's get some of the facts and figures down on paper. MoreToRetire.com is the website. Check that out today and look through the 5 steps to more that we talk about. You know what to expect as you work with Marc, or give him a call, talk through it. 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984, or online again, MoreToRetire.com. That is all the time we have for today. We'll be here next week. We hope you will be too on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute legal or tax advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein are provided by third parties that have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations for a wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.